and this is the next installment of The Locker Room. Listen, y'all, this is your friendly neighborhood coach, and I'm here talking all sports that just go about and talk about Cleveland. I'm Cleveland born, I'm Cleveland bred, and I'm going to always be a Cleveland guy, and I love my Cleveland sports. So we're going to get ourselves set today on this episode of The Locker Room. We're going to talk the Cleveland Browns versus the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. We're going to go back over the Bears game last week. We're going to always give you a Shedeur Sanders update. And then I have a question. Who is going to be the next coach of the Cleveland Browns if Kevin Stefanski's not here? I got a few candidates for you guys, and we can discuss a few of them. Then let's talk about Ohio State. Well, actually, Ohio State is not playing, but the college football playoffs have started, and some pretty good games going on. All right, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Plus, we go into the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Chicago Bulls. Cavaliers are still struggling. Still some stuff going on, and we're going to talk about it. Now, if there was an opportunity to trade somebody, who would you trade? Who would be on the trading block right now? And the next question I want to ask you is, do you blame Kenny Atkinson for the Cavaliers' struggles? And then finally, in my coach's rant, I'm going to talk to you about Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua and the fight that they had last night, if that's what you want to call it. And I will give my observations on that. So let's get ourselves prepared and set for the locker room. Today's episode is sponsored by Preston Bless Juice Bar. Listen, y'all, Coach Young ain't going to never pump something that he wouldn't do himself. And I'm saying this New Year's coming up, and everybody needs to get their health and wellness together. Well, how about doing it through Preston Bless? Listen, Preston Bless is 100% fruit juice. It is juice that will help your ailments. It is juice that will refresh your body. It is juice that will refresh your mind. Listen, go to IG and type in Pressed and Blessed Juice, or you can email at pressedandblessed@gmail.com. It's fresh, organic, freshly squeezed, fresh juice. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a blessing into your life. So if you want to change your health and wellness outlook, go to Preston Bless. And remember with Preston Bless, all right, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. All right, let's get this thing started. All right. So the Cleveland Browns are playing the Buffalo Bills this week. You got Shedeur Sanders versus Josh Allen. All right. Buffalo Bills are having a wonderful season. They're vying for the playoffs. Josh Allen always is a part of the MVP conversation. And they're playing against the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns defense is going to come out. They're going to do some things. Myles Garrett has an opportunity to break the all-time sack record versus the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure the Bills are going to have things, so that Myles Garrett can't get off. All right. Nobody wants a record broken on their team. And so this matchup, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a Cleveland fan. I love my Browns, but this is not a good matchup for the Browns. The Browns are not a really good football team. Their offensive line is absolute trash. I'm hoping that Shedeur just stays upright. That's all I need for Shedeur Sanders, to just stay upright and continue to improve. Now, I will say this, because I like to talk to my Shedeurians, and I also like to talk to my naysayers when it comes to Shedeur. I am neither. My goal is I want the best quarterback for my football team, and right now it is Shedeur Sanders. And I feel that the Browns need to commit and place things around him to make him better. All right. Now, am I going to sit here and poo-poo on Dillon Gabriel? Absolutely not, because this offense is putrid. Whether it's Shedeur Sanders behind it or whether it's Dillon Gabriel behind it, they could put Tom Brady behind this offensive line and running this offense, and Tom Brady would have difficulty doing it, okay? So my thing is when it comes to the Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel debate, I just go because of the fact that Shedeur is bigger, and he has kind of more of a pocket presence. He has improved each week, okay, and he's shown steady improvement each week. I believe if you put him behind a competent offensive line with the running backs that we have, get him some receivers, I think he will be a good quarterback. Okay, I'm not sitting here saying he's a franchise quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I think he can be a very good quarterback. Could he possibly be a franchise quarterback? That's all up to Shedeur. Okay, that is completely up to Shedeur Sanders. All right, but they played the Buffalo Bills. I believe it's in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. I think Shedeur will play better. I think last week, if any criticisms came last week, I think he was keying on Harold Fannin Jr. a little bit too much. That's how he got the one interception. However, I believe that he absolutely positively trusts Harold Fannin. That's just a sign of trust that you can see. That he trusts Harold Fannin Jr., he trusts Isaiah Bond, okay? He doesn't really have that kind of chemistry with Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, of course, I'm not going to get into Jerry Jeudy. I've talked enough to nauseam about him. I don't believe that Jerry Jeudy is a number one receiver. Jerry Jeudy is a secondary, possibly number 3. He's not a number 1. Okay, and so I believe that they can get out of Jerry Jeudy what they can. But I believe they need to surround him with better receivers. Okay. So Shedeur, like I said, what I want to see from Shedeur is I want to see steady improvement. Okay. I want to see steady improvement when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. I want to see, I want to see him improve in his pocket presence. I want to see him improve in reading defenses. Right now, Shedeur Sanders is a killer when it comes to man-to-man, but I want him to be able to process just a bit faster. Like I said, I know my Shedeurians are going to come at me, and whatever. I want to see this young man succeed, but I am going to be critical of him when I need to be. And these are things that I think he needs to improve on, and I think he will improve on. I want the organization to commit to him. If the organization commits to him, puts the necessary pieces around him, stop having him throw at, was throwing at garbage cans and trainers and had some reps, then I think he would have been a little bit better, a little bit further along. Now, these next stretch of games are going to be tough for him. He's got the Buffalo Bills. I think the Steelers are in there, Cincinnati. Okay, so this is a good test for Shedeur, all right? So, having said that, at the end of the season, there is a possibility that Kevin Stefanski will be relieved of his duties. Don't know. I'm just saying. It could be a possibility. Now, I will say this to my Cleveland Browns fans. Don't be shocked if Kevin Stefanski is brought back. I know y'all don't want to think that way. I know y'all ready to get rid of him, but do not be shocked if Jimmy Haslam and his group brings him back. Okay? Now, if by chance that the Browns let Kevin Stefanski go, who would be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns? Well, I got a couple people on the list. We talked about this on 3 the Hard Way, and why I have a second, I am a proud member of 3 the Hard Way Sports Podcast. If you have not subscribed, I want you to go to YouTube. I want you to hit 3 the Hard Way Sports Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. You will see me, my man Lionel Jones, L Train, and the captain, Terrence Alston. And that's what we do is we talk all Cleveland sports. Then when you are done with that, if you have not subscribed to the Locker Room, then I want you to go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment when it comes to the Locker Room. My motto is always this: you may not like what I'm saying, but you will listen. All right? Now, back to this. We talked about it on 3 the Hard Way. And I couldn't really address it because I was having some technical difficulties. All right. And I do apologize for that. It's like I had some technical difficulties today because I'm actually on a little bit later. I do apologize from that. But I will be back Saturdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Saturdays. All right. I think I got the bug taken care of. Well, I didn't. My queen did. So shout out to my wife, Treva. taking care of the big fella. All right, so there are some coaches that are going to be available. Now, I'm not going to get into all of them because there are a lot. There's a lot of pro coaches. There's a lot of college coaches that are out here that, that have been rumored, that are out here. But I'm just going to talk about a few of them. Number one is Mike McCarthy for the Green Bay. He was former coach for the Green Bay Packers and also for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, so I'm not going to get into the reasoning, but I'm going to tell you right now whether I want them or whether I do not. I do not want Mike McCarthy. Okay? I don't. I don't know why Mike McCarthy gives me Mike Holmgren vibes, because Holmgren came to Cleveland and he stole money. That's all he did. He stole money and he didn't improve the product. Okay? Joe Barry, offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Okay, that makes sense. Doing well. Had Josh Allen, which means he knows how to deal with quality quarterbacks. Okay. Jeff Hafley, Green Bay, DC. Okay. Then they talk about Cliff Kingsbury, Washington Commanders OC and Arizona Cardinals former head coach. Okay. I think what the Browns need is an offensive-minded kind of coach. I'm hoping that if that be the case, we can find that offensive-minded kind of coach and still keep the defense intact. Okay. Another one is Brian Flores. Now, he's the DC in Minnesota, and he's one of my leading candidates. However, I don't think Brian Flores will get a head coach's job because of the debacle that happened in Miami. Of course, Miami wanted him to tank. Brian Flores did not want to tank, and he let it be known, and he went public with it. And I think that may hurt Brian Flores from becoming a head coach in the NFL. There's a name that not a lot of folks talk about, and that's Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy at one point in time was one of the, I believe he was a offensive coordinator in Kansas City. Okay. Former Colorado Buffalo, former, NFL running back. My leading candidate, the one that I would like to see, and I'm not going to take credit for this. Shout out to the captain, Terrence Alston. He brought him up, and that is Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich, I think, would be a great head coach in Cleveland. Former NFL quarterback. I think he could develop Shedeur. I think this offense would be off the ground. So that would be my leading candidate is Byron Leftwich. Of course, Jim Schwartz. I believe that the Browns should offer now, mind you, if Kevin Stefanski is relieved of his duties, I believe that Jim Schwartz should be at least talked to about it. Jim Schwartz has, and I know everybody, when they talk about Jim Schwartz, talks about the 0-16 season in Detroit. Listen, I just see what he would bring to the table, and that would be a level of discipline that the Browns need. Okay? So the first person I would offer the chance to interview for the position, is Jim Schwartz. I think he would be a great candidate. And if he did not decide to be the head coach, I would do everything in my power to keep him as defensive coordinator. The coach that comes in would have to keep him as defensive coordinator. Okay? Because if you just came in and you had a decent offense, it doesn't have to be world beating. The way this defense was playing, if the offense gives you 21 to 24 points, the Browns are in the playoffs just with this defense alone. That's my opinion. Okay. Clint Kubiak, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. Hey, listen, I watched the Seahawks and the Rams play on Thursday night. It was an absolutely fantastic game. It's funny sometimes, y'all, and I'm going to be transparent. It's funny sometimes when I watch the Browns. And then when I actually watch good football, it feels weird because I watch the Browns and I watch what they do. And then I watch a game like Seattle and the Rams, which went into overtime, and I saw quality football. So Clint Kubiak is the Seahawks offensive coordinator. He is another candidate. My couple of candidates, like I said, is Byron Leftwich and Jim Schwartz, and third is Brian Flores. All right. So those are just a few. Okay. I heard Mary Kay Cabot this week, and of course, she's a legend in Cleveland sports. She said like I said, there's a possibility of Kevin Stefanski coming back. Only reason I disagree is I think Kevin Stefanski has took so much heat, rightfully so, that I don't think he wants to be in Cleveland anymore. I think his mindset is to move on. So I think if the Browns don't let him go, I think he'll step down and leave. Okay. And I know there are a lot of other things that are involved with Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski would just fall on the sword. I think Andrew Berry will be elevated. I don't think he would be fired. I think they would find a new coach and a new GM, and Andrew Berry would go higher up into the office. I believe that Andrew Berry will replace Paul DePodesta and whatever he did. Okay. All right, the college football playoffs is taking place right now. I know Tulane was losing to Ole Miss. I know Texas A&M lost to Miami, which was a shocker. Miami pulled it out, and so I believe the winner of the Texas A&M Miami game plays Ohio State. So it's going to be Miami and Ohio State in the playoffs. And then Ole Miss, I believe, is going to – they'll either get Indiana or Georgia. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it in front of me. I apologize for that. But there were some good games. Pretty good games. There was the game actually last night was Bama and Oklahoma. Oklahoma blew a 17-point lead, y'all. They was up by 17 against Bama, and Bama ran off 24 unanswered points, and they did it in succession. And so shout out to Alabama. I believe they play Indiana. So I think it's going to be Alabama and Indiana, y'all. So the college football playoffs have started. It's getting ready. It's getting serious already. And I like the quality of football that's being played. And so looking forward to Ohio State. I'm not sure if it's next week. So I'm just looking for them to go ahead and get started on this run. All right. Listen, once again, if you have not subscribed to The Locker Room, what are you waiting on? Go ahead, go to YouTube, hit The Locker Room, all right? And go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to The Locker Room. Then I want you to go to 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast. Remember, you got to do that. 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast. And I want you to like, subscribe, and comment on those. We got a bunch of videos on there. All right. A lot of conversation going on. We do a mystery Browns player. We do our APBs. Okay. Our tour days with Coach Young. It's a whole lot that goes on with 3 The Hard Way. So go subscribe. My man L Train, the captain, Terrence Austin, them are my guys. We just have a great time talking Cleveland sports. So I want you to go and subscribe. Okay. Subscribe to 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast and subscribe to The Locker Room. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Okay. And because, like I said, all we do is we talk about Cleveland sports. We get some national stuff in there every once in a while, talk a little national sports, but we do Cleveland. We're just three Cleveland boys that just sit up and talk about Cleveland sports. And that's what I do here on the locker room, is I just talk about Cleveland sports. All right. So 3 the hard way and in the locker room. Trust me, you won't dislike what you hear. Okay. All right. The Cleveland Cavaliers, guys. I got to take a deep breath when I talk about the Cavs, because the Cavs are incredibly frustrating. Okay. All right. They're incredibly frustrating when you talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they lost to the Bulls yesterday, 136-125. The second time they lost to the Bulls. It was a home and home. They lost to Chicago in Chicago, and they lost to Chicago in Cleveland. The Cavaliers, guys, are struggling bad. And I'm trying not to get overly frustrated, but it's very hard when you watch the Cavaliers. Now, last night, let me tell you who was out. Donovan Mitchell was out with an illness. Craig Porter Jr. out with an illness. Max Strus has not returned yet. Larry Nance Jr. is hurt. Evan Mobley hurt. Okay. Sam Merrill hurt. Okay. All these people hurt. I fired the training staff. I'm joking, but I'm not. So as the Cavs went into the game last night against the Bulls, you had a lineup of Tyrese Proctor started at the point, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Jalen Tyson, and I can't remember who the fourth was. Dean Wade, that was the fourth one. I'm sorry. And so they went in, started off pretty well. Darius Garland got off the schneid. He had 35 points. He had 8 assists. He was 6 of 12 from the 3-point line. Darius Garland was Darius Garland. Now, before everybody gets excited when it came to the offensive side of Darius Garland, I am never critical of the offensive prowess of Darius Garland. Here is my problem with DG, the point G. He can't defend. He has trouble staying in front of his people. Now, when you have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen behind you, you can play a little bit of Olay defense. But Darius Garland does it too much. When I coached, I had a player who didn't really play defense, and I would get on him because he didn't play defense, and he would say my offense is my defense. And that's how I see Darius Garland. Darius Garland's offense is his defense. Okay? Now, having said that, he had 36 and 8, 6 for 12 from the 3-point line. He was on. Okay? Tyrese Proctor has 16 with 3 assists. Jalen Tyson had 14 points. Naquan Tomlin came off the bench and gave you 15, and he was trying to dunk on everybody. The problem is a couple of things with the Cavaliers. Number one, their 3-point percentage is not where it was last year. They're not hitting the 3 at a clip. They shot 39 threes last night. And I think they made 13. 30, there's like 36%. Okay. Their transition defense is horrid. I don't know how many times they scored, and Chicago had. Now I don't care what anybody said. I can't stand cherry pickers. And that's what the Bulls, people say, oh, it's a leak out. No, it's a cherry pick. That means that person didn't defend. So they just waiting for the ball to come off the rim and they taking off. Now, the Cavs transition defense is not really good. They're not hitting the 3-point shot at a reasonable clip. And there are times that Kenny Atkinson puts guys out there who can't shoot. Dean Wade cannot hit the broadside of a barn. And we constantly keep putting him on the floor. There was a moment last night that Darius Garland took a shot, hit the floor. And as they were going to pick him up, the camera panned to him, and you could see him physically say to Dean Wade, Dean, shoot the ball. He's petrified in shooting the ball. Dean Wade, if he cannot score, he does defend really well, but on the offensive end, you're playing 5-on-4. You don't have to guard him. Same applies to Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball, I believe, had 8 points last night, which was pretty decent for Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball can't shoot. And what's going to end up happening if they make the playoffs? You're going to see teams sag off Lonzo Ball. They're going to dare him to shoot the ball. Okay? Naquan Tomlin had a really good game. I believe it was his birthday yesterday. He had a really good game. He came out. He brings energy. He brings intensity. He brings it. Okay? He had 14. All right? He mixes it up. Okay? Jalen Tyson was kind of off last night. Although he gave the effort, he was kind of off. But you can't expect him to do it every night. DeAndre Hunter needs to be on the end of the bench. Because the thing about DeAndre Hunter is if DeAndre Hunter is not really scoring, I think he had 11 last night. If he's not really scoring, he's not a good defender as well. He's not. I watched him last night. He lets guys blow by him, and the Bulls had 7 guys in double figures. Buzelis had 24. Nick Vucevic, he had 24. Josh Giddey had 17. There were 7 guys in double figures. That is a lack of defensive intensity. That is a lack of defensive intensity. And the way the Cavs are winning is because Donovan Mitchell has to go supernova. Just like Darius Garland last night scores 35, 36. He had to go supernova. Okay? Now, I'm an old school basketball guy. I don't always have to be right. But a lot of these injuries to me shows a lack of toughness. Okay? To me, it does. When you look at Sam Merrill, I think he had a wrist injury. Sam Merrill's been out for a pretty long time. The only one to me that has a real legitimate reason for being out a long period of time is Max Strus. He broke a bone in his foot. Okay. Now, like I said, this type of NBA player is kind of different. All right. I know some old school, and I'm old school, y'all. I'm sorry. Tape it up and let's go. Okay. Evan Mobley is dealing with a calf injury. I understand being cautious on that because most of the calf injuries then led into Achilles tendon problems. Okay. So I get that. But a lot of this stuff, and I'm really impressed with the young players, the young guys. Like I said, Tyrese Proctor had 16. I'm sorry. He had 16 points. He looked good. The young fella looked good. Okay. Let these young Lions go ahead and play. All right. But that leads me to this question. Who's to blame for the Cavs' struggles? Who is it? Do you blame Kenny Atkinson? Here is my opinion on that. Kenny Atkinson has not had his full complement of players ever. I think the starting unit played with each other twice. Kenny's been mixing and matching lineups, but I said this in a 3 the Hard Way segment, and I've also said this here on the locker room. Kenny Atkinson is slow walking this team. He'll take these losses. He's trying to win, but he'll take these losses. but look at the invaluable experience that these young fellas are getting. Your Luke Travers, your Jalen Tysons, your Tyrese Proctors, okay, your Craig Porter Jr., all right? Look at the invaluable experience. Your Naquan Tomlins. Look at the invaluable experience that these young cats are getting. Look at them. They're improving every game because they're getting minutes that on other teams they wouldn't get. I said this before and I will say this again. Watch the Cavaliers make a run either prior to or right after the All-Star break. Because Max Strus will be back toward the end of this month, beginning of January. Max Strus will be back. You're going to start seeing January, February, guys are going to start getting healthy. Right now, the Cavaliers are in a play-in position. They won't be there by the end of the season. They're letting all these other teams beat the crap out of each other, and they're going to come back, and they're going to be fully healthy, and they're going to start playing Cavs basketball. We just got to stay patient. And it's hard for me, y'all. It's hard for me to stay patient. But we have to stay patient when it comes to the Cavs, okay? We got to stay patient, all right? So let me ask this question here. If you had an opportunity to trade someone, who would you trade? Would you trade a member of the Big Four? Would you trade one of the young guns with a draft pick and get somebody? And who do you trade for? You know, Memphis is trying to get rid of Ja Morant. Would you go after Ja Morant? Here's my response. No, leave this team alone. Leave it alone. Because once they are all together, and once they're able to play and get the kinks out all together, this team is going to be dangerous. They're going to be dangerous. Once everybody's fully healthy and they stop playing this experiment when it comes to Evan Mobley and trying to turn Evan Mobley into the second coming of Tim Duncan. Okay. Coming into the second coming of Tim Duncan, then, you know, we'll get somewhere. Now, I do believe that you cannot play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen on the court together. I think you should play them separately. I think Kenny should be playing Evan at the 5, putting Hunter at the 4, Jalen Tyson at the 3, Garland and Mitchell. Okay. I'm bringing Sam Merrill off the bench. And it might sound crazy because Sam Merrill just signed that ridiculous contract. And I don't mean ridiculous as in he didn't earn it. Sam Merrill did earn it. But I'm looking at it from a standpoint of Jalen Tyson has earned minutes. Jalen Tyson has earned his keep. And you got to put Jalen Tyson out there. Now, when Max Strus comes back, I mean, Kenny's in a conundrum when Strus returns because Jalen Tyson has played his way into the starting lineup. Okay? He's in the top on the Cavs team in three-point percentage. Plus, he defends, even though he fouls a lot. He defends. He finds the best player on the floor and he tries to guard him. You know? So right now with DeAndre Hunter's not playing well. So you could put Tyson at the 4. I mean, he's a legitimate 6'6", 6'7". You could put him at the 4. You can put Strus at the 3, put Evan at the 4. You know, Trey Young, 68-35. I hope they get it together and it's not just another year of them, flatlining during the year, or if they even make the first round of the playoffs. That's yeah. If you know, I truly believe, like I said, that the Cavaliers around the All-Star break will begin to make a run. And I could see them being top 3 in the Eastern Conference, if not winning the East. Okay. I can see it. All right. I think their next game is in New York against the Knicks on Christmas. They got probably one beforehand. But I know they play the Knicks on Christmas. I'm not looking forward to that. The Knicks just won the NBA Cup. They're playing at a high level right now, and the Cavaliers are not. They just are not. Evan Mobley is out another couple of weeks. I don't know when Sam Merrill will return. Like I said, Strus should be back toward the end of the month, which is coming close. He should be back the end of the month, beginning of the new year. He should be back. So hopefully the Cavs can get it together. All right. But in terms of trading anyone, I know Darius Garland has been talked about being traded. Nobody wants Darius Garland. He's an undersized point guard. Now, he has very good leadership ability. He has good shooting ability. But once again, like I said, his Achilles heel, he does not defend well. And I don't care what anybody says. I've watched Darius Garland since he was a rookie in the league. Darius Garland, even until this point, does not defend well. He is not a good defender. Okay? That's what's killing them right now, is they're not able to defend like they should. Okay? But we will see in these next few, because it's still early in the season, everybody. That's the thing. It's still early in the season. We haven't even gotten to the midpoint of the regular season. So I'm telling Cavs fans, everybody calm down, relax. I know they're frustrating as heck. I know they work your nerves. I get it. But you have to just be patient. I believe in Atkinson. I believe in Kenny. I do. And so because I believe in Kenny Atkinson, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, if the Cavaliers turn into a play-in team or if they miss the playoffs, my mind may change. But the only reason that I believe in Kenny is because I've seen him do it. He's been around great coaches. Steve Kerr, he had his chance in Brooklyn. He did a decent job in Brooklyn. They just got rid of him for Steve Nash because they created their big 3 with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. So they didn't think he could coach those 3 superstars, which Kenny Atkinson could have. But that's neither here nor there. I believe in Kenny. What do I think is wrong? What I think is you got players in there who think they can cruise through the regular season and just go into the playoffs. This is what I see. The only person that I see out there that's actually, other than the young guns on the bench, that's out there giving 150 is Donovan Mitchell. And the reason I don't want Spider to give 150 every night is because he's done that during the regular season and then flamed out in the playoffs. No. Donovan Mitchell needs help. And he needs help from Evan Mobley. He needs help from Jared Allen. He needs help from Darius Garland. He needs help. And he's not getting it. He's not getting it. Kenny Atkinson, the only disagreement I have with Kenny Atkinson is he's trying to turn Evan Mobley into someone who he is not. Evan Mobley is not Giannis. Evan Mobley is not going to be Tim Duncan. Evan Mobley is not going to be Kevin Garnett. He's not going to be Chris Bosh. Evan Mobley is going to be Evan Mobley. And for everybody to think that he's about to flip this switch and turn into some demon during the playoffs, I beg to differ. I don't see that in his game. And I broke it down last week like a fraction. I know Paul Pierce, segue real quick. Paul Pierce said Michael Jordan didn't have a bag, which was the dumbest thing I ever heard, but it's Paul Pierce. And Kevin Garnett corrected him. Evan Mobley does not have a bag. When you look at Evan Mobley's post game, back to the basket, he doesn't have one, y'all. That's why he avoids going on the box. That's why he'll face up and he'll roll, try to penetrate to the middle. He doesn't have a bag on the post. Watch Evan Mobley next time he plays. Evan Mobley does running hooks every once in a while, tries to get to the cup, tries to use his dribble because he can handle somewhat as a big man, but he's trying to get to the cup. But if you throw the ball in the post to him with his back to the basket, he's not strong enough to back nobody down, and he doesn't have an arsenal. Tim Duncan could have his back to the basket, and I'm not comparing him to none of them. So all my trolls that's going to come on, well, you think he's Tim Duncan. No. Tim Duncan had a bag. He had various spin moves on the box. If he faced you up, he could shoot that ball off the glass. KG from 10 to 15 feet out could hit that jump shot, but he also could get you on the box, and he can put you, in the danger zone in the box. Okay? Chris Bosh being a lefty. Chris Bosh could have that fadeaway. Okay? LaMarcus Aldridge could get you down there and put you in a trick bag. You see what I'm saying? Watch Evan Mobley and tell me he has a bag. He doesn't. Neither does Jared Allen. Okay? Jared Allen has a couple jump hooks. Okay. He'll shot put from free throw line extended. Okay. At least Bryant, when he comes off the bench, actually can hit a three-point shot. I said Evan Mobley's a shooter. He's not a maker. If I'm coaching the Cavaliers, Evan Mobley wouldn't shoot a three-point shot until he gave me 6 in the paint. I don't care if it's jump hooks. I don't care if it's from the free throw line. You got to give me 6 points in the paint before you could go out there and shoot a three-point shot. That's just me. So we'll see how this turns out. The Bulls did a pretty good job. They're not a really good team. I'm not really impressed with the Chicago Bulls. They run, but Josh Giddey's pretty different, pretty decent. Isaac Okoro, whenever he comes back to Cleveland, he's going after it. But do I see the Bulls making the playoffs? I think they'll be a play-in team. I don't see them being very high in the Eastern Conference. So we'll see if the Cavs can turn it around. Listen, one last time, if you have not subscribed to The Locker Room, I don't know what you're waiting on. Get on YouTube here and hit The Locker Room 34 and go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment. All right? I appreciate all y'all comments, whether it's positive or negative. Okay? And I try my best to answer everybody's comments, even on my YouTube shorts. I try to answer all y'all comments, okay? All right? Even the ridiculous ones. I had somebody comment, said I was racist because I compared Shedeur Sanders to Joe Flacco. And so when I say, you may not like what I say, but you will listen, I might put a caveat to that. You may not like what I say, but you will listen. But I need you to listen in its entirety. Some folks just take stuff out of context because they don't listen to the whole statement. I said Shedeur Sanders is better than Joe Flacco right now, not in Joe Flacco's entire career. He's a Super Bowl champion, possibly will be a Hall of Famer. No, I'm saying right now in Joe Flacco's career, I think Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback. He's younger. Okay. But yeah, I got that. I got the racist tag, which I thought was funny. Y'all missed me with all that. Because I'm gonna tell it like it is. Like I said, I don't sugarcoat nothing, and I want to see my teams be successful. But at any point in time, I will be extraordinarily critical of them. So if you have not subscribed to the Locker Room, go ahead to the YouTube and hit the Locker Room 34 and go ahead and subscribe. And then go to 3 The Hard Way Sports Podcast. Go ahead and like and subscribe with that. We will be recording. You will see the next episode on Monday. We generally L Train generally has them out on Monday, so we will be talking about a lot of the games tomorrow. All right. So my last segment, guys, is the coach's rant. I come on here, I'll go through all kinds of Cleveland sports, but I always have a coach's rant at the end. Last week it was Johnny Football. And so this week, my coach's rant is going to be Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. So Miss Treva said that's wild. Let me show this. I'll show this one on the stream. She says, I hope they get it together. Talking about the Cavs, and it's not just another year of them flatlining during the year, or if they even make the play, or if they even ever make first round of the playoffs. All right, keep commenting. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. So my coach's rant is Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. They fought last night, and Jake Paul was knocked out in the 6th round. So for me, I love boxing. I've been into boxing for a very long time. I go back into the golden era of boxing with Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, Alexis Arguello, Aaron Pryor, Ali, Frazier, Foreman, Ernie Shavers. I came up in the golden era of boxing. I would watch boxing on Wild World of Sports with Jim McKay every Saturday, just to see Ali fight. And they would put the fights on there. I think the greatest one round of all time was Thomas the Hitman Hearns and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. If you've never seen that fight or that first round, I want you to go to YouTube and look up Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns. That wasn't a fight, y'all. That wasn't a boxing match. That was a fight. It was like 2 dudes in the street fighting. And it was the greatest first round I'd ever seen in my life. And I still say that. Okay. I watched, of course, Roy Jones Jr. come through. I watched a lot of boxing. So when don't get me wrong, I didn't spend a whole lot of time watching it because I think for me, Jake Paul is an entertainer who boxes. And don't get me wrong, he's had boxing training, but I can't legitimize him because of the people who he's fought. Okay. And the way that those fights took place, I don't care what nobody says. That fight against Mike Tyson was an exhibition. It was not a fight. Okay. It wasn't a fight. We got, Wild World of Sports. I remember Ali on there with Cosell. Yes. This says Howard Cosell. Yeah. Remember Cosell. But I can't legitimize Jake Paul because of the people who he fought before. I can't. Like I said, the Mike Tyson fight, I think, was an exhibition because if you go back and you look at that fight, Mike Tyson pulled punches. You can't take instinctive boxers and make them exhibitionists. Even when Mike Tyson did an exhibition with Roy Jones Jr., he almost knocked Roy Jones out. But this fight against Anthony Joshua, this was the first time Jake Paul fought an actual boxer. That wasn't, he fought a boxer. And Joshua pounded him. He pounded him. Matter of fact, he broke his jaw. Okay. Now, I give Jake Paul credit because at this point he was trying to quiet the naysayers. So that's why he challenged Anthony Joshua. And don't get me wrong, he made like over, I think, $100 million in this fight. So Jake Paul ain't stupid. Okay. He's made money. All right. And Anthony Joshua, I think, got $60 million. So that was, hey, great payday. Okay. But it shows that Jake Paul needs to fight more fighters. I'm not saying that Jake Paul can't box. I'm not saying that Jake Paul is not a fighter. I'm not saying that. But when you start fighting palookas and bums and, guys who are not boxers, when you fight guys like that, how does that make you better? Yeah, he got his jaw broken. How do you get better? Okay? How does that happen? How can you get better by fighting guys who are not boxers? Anderson Silva, fighting those guys. You know what I'm saying? How can you get better? Right now, even though he got knocked out, this fight will make Jake Paul better. Because what is he going to do? He's going to go back to the lab. He's going to work even harder. Now, Anthony Joshua is a big guy. He fought a heavyweight, a legit heavyweight. Okay? And he felt it. So shout out to Jake Paul for taking on this fight, knowing that it's a possibility that he's going to get knocked out. But he didn't waver. But now, for me, if I'm in the camp of Jake Paul, now I'm looking for legitimate fighters. I'm looking for fighters that I can fight, that if I take an L, it's going to make me better. Okay? So, I'm not sitting here dogging Jake Paul. I'm just saying that I couldn't legitimize Jake Paul as a professional fighter because of the people who he was fighting. Now with Anthony Joshua, I can now say, okay, Jake Paul's a boxer. He got knocked out. That happens. When you go into the boxing ring and listen, man, the greats get knocked out. Ali got knocked out. Ray Leonard got knocked out. You know what I'm saying? These guys get knocked out. Anthony Joshua's been knocked out. It's gonna happen. But now, what will legitimize Jake Paul is the next fight that he has. Who is he gonna fight? Is he gonna fight the person that's working behind the counter at McDonald's, or is he gonna go and look in that top 10 and grab somebody out of that top 10, whether it's middleweight, whether it's heavyweight? I think Jake Paul is more of a middleweight than a heavyweight. Okay, I think he should trim down and become a middleweight. I think Jake Paul could be a tremendous middleweight boxer. I don't think he's a heavyweight. He saw that yesterday what the heavyweights do. I think he's a middleweight. Okay. And I think he's got the work ethic and the body frame to become a middleweight. So I can see Jake Paul being a middleweight boxer and actually being a champion, because he does. Listening to his interviews, it's not that he does not take the sport seriously. He's an entertainer. He does take it seriously. But I need him to really focus in on the art form that is boxing. I really need him to focus in on that. And I think if he went down to middleweight, focused in on the art form, I think Jake Paul could be a champion. Legitimately. Okay? Right now, he making money. He entertaining. He's made a lot of money doing this. But I'm about the science and the sweet science of the sport. Okay. When people talk about Floyd Mayweather was undefeated. I'm not going to sit up here and say he didn't fight nobody. That's disrespectful. Boxers are boxers. Do I think there was somebody out there that could beat Floyd Mayweather? Yeah. When I grew up, it was a gentleman by the name of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Rest his soul. He was hit by a car. He was killed not too long ago. But Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, I think, would have done business with him. Aaron Pryor would have done business with him. Okay? And there's no disrespect to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, undefeated, one of 2 undefeated champions. Him and Rocky Marciano walked out undefeated. No disrespect. But when you talk about styles, where Floyd avoided to get hit, Sweet Pea hit you. So I would have, when you want to talk about matchups like that, I would have loved to see Sweet Pea Whitaker and Floyd Mayweather. But Jake Paul, I believe if he gets in the gym, trims down, goes middleweight, really focuses on the sport, I think he could be a champion. And I could be wrong. And I know some people are going to come in my comments and tell me I'm wrong. But I think right now, once he gets his mind out of the entertainment side of it, trying to entertain fans and really focus in on what this sport is all about, I think he'd be a credible boxer. I do. I really do. And I believe that. All right. So that's my coach's rant. Listen, everybody, that is it for me. I'm getting ready to slide up out of here. Like I said, if you have not subscribed to the Locker Room, I double dog, triple dog dare you to subscribe to the Locker Room, to comment and share. Share with a few people. I need people so they can come in. And like I said, all my Cleveland people from Harvard Ave on, come on in. Come on in. All right. And let's talk some Cleveland sports. All right. All right. Y'all be safe, man. Hey, happy holidays to each and every person that comes across here. I want to send a special shout out to my youngest son, Joshua, whose birthday is today. He is 20 years old. Love you, boy. Hope you enjoy your birthday, man. You only turned 20 once, man. Proud of you. All right. All right. You guys will see me on Monday on 3 the Hard Way. In the meanwhile, love on somebody. Tell somebody that you love them. Don't always assume that they know. I'll see you guys later.